I want to bring in a political strategist now to talk more about the last-minute campaign efforts that we're seeing in multiple locations. Ryan Williams is a former press aide for Republican Mitt Romney's presidential campaigns. Ryan, thank you for being with us. So 24 hours to go. I'm looking at Senate races in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Ohio, Wisconsin, Nevada. Boy, I mean, the list goes on and on. What one race on the Senate side are you watching most closely in the final stretch?
I'm watching two. I'm watching Nevada, where it looks like Adam Laxalt is up about a point on the incumbent Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. And I'm also watching New Hampshire, a race that really wasn't on anybody's radar until about 2 weeks ago, when a severely underfunded candidate, a former General Don Bolduc, running against incumbent Senator Maggie Hassan, looked like he wasn't going to have the resources needed to be competitive. But that race is neck and neck, and it's anybody's guess who's going to win at this point.
Talk a little bit about the strategies from both sides. You heard former President Trump talking about crime. You heard President Obama talking about democracy being on the line. Voters continue to say in all of the polls, inflation is the most important thing that will drive them. So why is each side focusing on something other than the economy?
Well, I think at this point, when you see someone like President Biden or former President Trump come into a state to campaign, they're coming in not really to appeal to the broad electorate. They're coming in to fire up the base of their parties. They're coming in to try to turn out the party faithful to make sure they come out on Election Day. It looks like Democrats have somewhat of an enthusiasm gap with Republicans, which is fairly standard in a midterm election when the incumbent party's president is running against an insurgent party out of power. So they're just trying right now to appeal to the base. They're trying to get them to turn out to vote and then, see where independents go. Independents clearly are affected by the economy. If you look at any kind of polling, inflation and the economy are top of the mind for their concerns. Other issues like, gun control, abortion, and others are not as important issues on kind of the grand scale of how they rank them. So at this point now, it's really the economic issues that seem to be driving those late deciders as they make up their minds in the final 24 hours.
Right. And it's about bringing out the base, energizing that base, which is why you have some of these political heavy hitters coming in. But it does seem like the candidates understand that there are voters out there that they want to reach. And so they're telling people at these rallies, they're diehard supporters, that we want you to get out and knock on some doors, convince your friends to vote. We saw it with Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. We saw it with Mark Kelly in Arizona. So they seem to understand that there are people out there that they need to reach. And that also may indicate how close and razor thin some of these races are.
Yeah, if you look at the polling, every major Senate race looks to be about a point or two, give or take, on either side. They're very, very close. And your ground game and your turnout operation makes the difference in these races. If you're down 10 points, you can have a great ground operation. You're still going to lose. But when it's this close, if you're Democrats, you're focused on that early vote. Democrats tend to get more voters that vote early. Republicans have a bigger Election Day turnout. So these ground games really will make all the difference in these races that are this close, that could determine the balance of power in both chambers.
And Ryan, we keep hearing it. We just checked in with our reporter in Arizona about election security, and some of the numbers are bearing this out. Washington Post found more than a half of Republicans running deny or question the outcomes. How much is that on voters' minds going into this election?
I think it's a bigger issue with Republicans. The base of the party really is focused on the issue of voter fraud. Unfortunately, some candidates on the Republican side have question the outcome of previous elections. I don't have any doubt myself that this is going to be a secure election, but it is an issue that is really on the minds of a lot of Republican voters, base voters. And, you hear former President Trump talk about this issue a lot. He's really advanced it as an issue with the Republican Party faithful. They are concerned about the outcomes of the election and election integrity.
Finally, Ryan, what do you make of the former President Trump and DeSantis distancing themselves in this final stretch from one another, given the fact that we may see both of them pop up again in 2024?
I don't think it's any secret there's tension between the two. And Governor DeSantis is going to have a big victory tomorrow. He's leading in the polls significantly, so he doesn't really need to associate with President Trump. But look, I don't think it's realistic that we could see these two on a primary ballot for the presidency in a few months. Starting the campaign. Governor DeSantis has a very successful track record here in Florida, and I don't know if he's going to be dissuaded if former President Trump just decides to jump in the race again right after this election. So there's definitely tension, and I think we'll see that become even more apparent after the midterm elections.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.